Last summer, Barbara Hershey and it's hard to talk. Give me your first reaction to both of you guys. What was it like to see this movie after all this time?
I can't give you one reaction. I have 1,000 of them running around in my head. I had never stepped in front of a camera before this, so you know, I always compared this at the beginning with what I didn't know how to do. But all I can think of is Kathy. I think of, you know, lots of times actors don't have a lot of friends, but we have war buddies that we go through things and we can pick up mid-sentence 20 years later. And I'm really sorry what happened to Kathy, because we were very close during that period of time. You know, whatever love-hate goes back and forth in 12 hours a day when you're working like that. We really loved each other. And it was the first time for me to ever have that experience. And I saw Kathy last in 1980, and she had quit acting. She had become a writer. She was writing for, I think, the Playwrights Horizon. And I often regretted not staying in touch. But that happens all the time. We just don't get to stay in touch. We can pick up 20 years later. Barbara and I just did a film together a few years ago, and it was like, so, just stepping right back into where we left. But I loved those people, all of them. I mean,
How did you feel working in this movie again?
Seeing it or working in it?
Oh, seeing it.
Seeing it. We'll get to the other. I was fascinated to see it. I don't think I'd seen it since forever. I mean, it'd been forever. And I had pretty much the same reaction. The last section of the film is so, I don't know, it almost doesn't fit into the film to me. It's such a turn that it takes. And it's so violent and so fast. I mean, do you think it's natural, or do you think does it feel arbitrary to you sometimes?
I don't think it feels arbitrary. I mean, obviously there's 1,000 different ways the movie could have ended, but you know, I think the movie is tipping you off so much all the time. I mean, the bird and with Annabelle, there's 1,000 times you were, you know, Sandy in particular is manipulating the situation
because she's so frightened.
Yeah.
That's the secret of Sandy. And she deflects the energy off of her onto others, you know, when it gets intense.
I never realized Barbara's power in that film so much as I saw it in this.
Yeah.
You know, I was just a young kid and I had a crush on her, and we were all running around the beach until David showed up. But
I'd never played a part like Sandy before. I'd only done little parts where I did versions of myself. And I really wanted to play this bad girl. Frank was sort of open to me playing either one of the roles.
Wow.
And I really wanted I wanted to act. I wanted to go someplace I'd never gone before. And it was such an astounding experience because I didn't have any frame of reference as an actor to know what was about to happen to me. And you know, what you're trying to get to as actors is to get to something real where it's happening to you. And if you prepare right, sometimes that happens, and it's magical when that happens. It started happening to me as Sandy. I'd look at the moon and the face of the moon screaming, and you know, I'd have all these feelings and things that I'd never experienced before. It frightened me, to tell you the truth. Afterward, I learned about these things, that these are good things. You look forward to these things. But at the time, I was just sort of blown away because I had no experience with it.
Well, it's amazing to watch the three of you, Richard Thomas, the three of you on screen because it feels like a threesome. It feels like such a relationship, and it feels like real friendship. You're actually, it's so rare to see that and not feel fraudulent. And when you're watching the truth serum scene or the scene in the movie theater, it's just, it feels so real. How do you get something like that on a movie?
Well, it was real. I mean, it was the first time. I mean, Richard had done one little bit in Winning. You had just started
He just worked with William Wyler, I think, too.
I worked with William
You had
Wyler.
the Monroes, I think you had just done, but none of us had really made a film. And I was just, it's watching myself now, it's like watching Jell-O. There was no meter or lever on me, and Frank, Frank was had the subtlety of a sledgehammer in so many ways. I mean, he really go to hump harder, he was right in there all the time. I mean, he was kind. I found him kind and generous and very supportive, but he was larger than life.
He was larger than life, but he was very much an actor's director. And the truth serum scene is the perfect example of that. We couldn't have come to that kind of naturalness if he hadn't set up that scene that way.
Exactly.
It was pure Frank that he allowed that to happen, encouraged that to happen. The way he shot it, the way he let us say our lines and overlap, and it was all Frank.
And there was one moment while we were working in the middle of that scene where a still photographer sort of came into our eye line and was shooting shots, and he took a beer can and whacked him right on the head. The scene went right around. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very strange experience. We were shooting in Fire Island after it had closed. It was like the beginning of fall, and so it was empty. It was like a ghost town of Fire Island, and that subterranean forest. I mean, the atmosphere of the place was astounding.
Right. Which island was it? Do you remember which one?
It was Cherry Grove, and in fact, I shot again in that same building back when we did Longtime Companion.
Yeah.
And I shot there again.
I mean, Fire Island is a character in this film.
Yeah.
I totally get that sense. So my wife, the parents had a place out in the Pines, and it was like
It was the Pines and Cherry Grove,
Yeah.
that area there. And there was a group of people when we started, but we ended up being so hot on the beach when it was 40 degrees. That was got very cold sometimes. Spraying sweat on us, trying not to shiver.
But the forest is a set, correct?
Yes, that was a set.
I think
We ran out of time because there was a little grove they were going to shoot in, but we just ran out of warmth and heat, and we got to the fall, and that's when we shot that scene on the soundstage.
Was it shot in order? How much? Was it, I can't imagine shooting that ending and then going back to.
Pretty much it was shot. It was shot in sequence, which is very rare too. But once again, that's Frank, with protecting his actors and trying to grow and working with novices. None of us really had any idea what we were coming into.
Which he liked.
Right.
Yeah.
He called us mes enfants.
Now, was Eleanor Perry around?
Yes.
Talk about her a little bit. I'm fascinated by her.
Eleanor was also very kind at the time. They were together. Unfortunately, years later, she wrote Blue Pages when they broke up, and there's some nasty scenes about us in it. I remember Richard and I, one time, there was a floating dead rat in the bay, and we were throwing rocks at it. She made a whole chapter out of that. But
it's a fascinating book, by the way. If you're interested in behind the scenes Hollywood in the '70s, when Frank and Eleanor split up, Eleanor wrote a roman à clef, I guess is what
But
it's
we
called.
were in that, it was the last summer for them as well, pretty much. But it was a great and fascinating time. And for me, I was a starving kid living in the Lower East Side, going to what's now the Tisch School, but I didn't know anything about filmmaking.
Did you guys audition, or how did you get the part? How did you get the
Yeah,
part?
Yeah, we all auditioned. I auditioned many times with a lot of different cast members. We were sort of hacked and pared down.
Oh, wow, so he put together like a threesome or whatever, and had you guys
Yeah,
act
there'd be
together?
a couple of threesomes up at his apartment, and you have a little tent, and you do the beer drinking scene, and then another cast would come in, and so he did that about 3 or 4 times to me.
Now, Barbara, you were so affected by this movie that you actually changed your name for a little while. Can you talk about that?
Yes, for a 2-year period, yes. You can't train seagulls. They had to capture seagulls and tie them up and manipulate them to do things in the scenes. And there was one seagull in particular who was more photogenic, more spirit. It was just a special bird. And I was fascinated by her. And like I could look in her eyes, and though she was tied up with this filament, I could see that she was totally free. She was totally wild. I thought, oh, if I'm ever tortured, I have to remember that. They couldn't touch her. And so I learned things with her. And the Wranglers noticed that, and they called her Barbara Seagull. And they even put her on the call sheet. Do you remember that? And in the scene, when I throw the bird into the air and it lands funny, that really was happening. She really was traumatized. And I was 19 years old. To stop shooting is a huge thing. A little budget movie and dollars going by with every second. And I said to Frank, kind of meekly, I think she's not landing well, and can we switch another bird? And he said, no, we're going to go with more takes. So we did a few more, and I said, really, I want to stop. I want to get another bird. And he said, no, we're just going to do one more time. Just do it. And I remember picking her up and seeing sand in her eye, and I threw her in the air, and I turned away from the camera and burst into tears, and I had killed her. And I remember Frank saying, oh, well, it's immortalized on film, and which didn't sit well.
Like us now.
And so I felt this at the time. Now I'm looking at it, I'm 19 years old, I'm very guilt-ridden by this. And I felt to myself that she injured me, that I became Barbara Seagull. And then I felt in my naivete that I had to make it public. I had to be brave about it and call myself Barbara Seagull. And I remember going to my agents at William Morris and telling them this, and they didn't blink, they didn't say anything. But I learned a quite graphic lesson that if something happens to you personally, keep it personal. You don't have to make it public. It'll destroy it for you personally. But that's why I was Barbara Seagull for 2 years.
You keep it private so you're not asked about it 60 years later.
Yes, right.
When I was a little kid, I thought it was beautiful that you called yourself Barbara Seagull at the time.
Did you know why I did that?
I always heard it was because you were attached to the seagull in the movie. How did talk about the reaction to the film after when it opened? What was the feeling?
I don't know about the public, but my mother sat there in the theater and waited till the whole theater emptied. And I went up to her, because I had never said a swear word in my life before I did this film. I'd never played a part like this. And I went up to her and she said, "You've got a lot of nerve." Yeah.
I remember my Uncle Alan, and he said, I took your Aunt Levera to that film. And look up and there's 22 feet of your ass. I remember that ass. I used to change diapers on that ass.
I don't know publicly how it was reacted.
I think very well. Kathy got the Oscar nomination.
Oh, Kathy got that, yes, absolutely.
Yes, Kathy was nominated that year for it. She did, I think, 2 other films.
Yeah, she made another movie with Richard Thomas.
With Richard, Red Sky at Morning, that I had been called to do at one time, and I was doing something else. But she had an anger in her about injustice of this business, and it was she's a perfect target for having a brilliant talent and being so young that she was really, it was hard for her to cope with the rejection that she received. I
And
think
even the acclaim. I mean, like I mentioned the Roger Ebert review. I think even the 4-star reviews were like, and a wonderful pudgy actress.
yes, it was all that, and I remember her getting very mad at one of the line producers one time that was only giving us 1 roll of toilet paper a week instead of 2, you know, and she just let him have it. I think we were getting $15 a week per diem or something. But she had a glass jaw in a lot of ways, and I really feel badly because she just jumped. She was the most talented of us there. I mean, she just jumped off the screen. She was Giulietta Messina, I think, to Frank from La Strada. But I feel really sad that we lost her. That she just said, fuck it, I'm not going to stay here for this. I'm gone, and I don't want anything more to do with it. Broke her heart.
Right.
All that success when you're young, and then have it taken away from you. I mean, it's. I was coming back with the band. The band did the music for the film.
Right. The band were on the set, correct?
Yes. Yeah, they were on. I came back in a limo with Robbie Robertson and the band, and Albert Grossman, their manager. And I remember driving at dawn through Broadway, and he just looked out as we went through an empty Times Square, and he said, "There's a broken light bulb for every heart on Broadway." I just remember that moment as we slid through. But, you know, we all had that experience as we were young and as we get older, and things vanish. Some things
You
come
guys
back.
look exactly the same, so it's kind of amazing. You guys look exactly the same. I can't think of, pretty fantastic. You both look amazing. Can you talk a little bit more about Richard? That was so sweet what he sent earlier. Like, how did you remember how you met Richard on the set, or any great Richard Thomas stories?
Yeah, well, I mean, Richard and I were both from New York. Barbara was from the coast. And we did the left coast, and we came back to do a couple of pickup shots and stuff, and Barbara took Richard and I and Kathy up to the top of this mountain, and it was all fogged in, and she said, "This is called Laurel Canyon. It's the cool place. It's where you'll live when you come to town." And I did. I lived there for 25 years. But Richard came from a family that were famous ballet people. His mother was a great ballerina, and he had been raised in the theater. So he was, I think, the hippest of us all as far as that. I ended up doing, we remained friends over the years. I did a few Waltons with him, and we did a movie of the week, and we keep in touch. We finally were on Ozark together, opposite sides, but we've kept in touch over the years. And Barbara and I worked together, what was it, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah,
She was the star and I was the villain.
Did you ever read the Evan Hunter novel, by any chance?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there.
He was there.
Came to the
Talk
set.
about that. Wow, I didn't know that.
I always remember that we would meet at where the beach was wildest, and that's where we first met Sandy.
You know, he wrote a sequel. There's
Yes.
a sequel book called Come Winter,
Yes.
where the same character to show up at a ski resort like
Right.
3 or 4 years ago. Up to your own tricks
I'm
again.
glad
We never
you
made that
one.
I want to throw it out here. What did you guys think? Yeah. Woo!
First of all, I want to thank you for all the hard work that you did to resurrect this mummy.
Thank you. After seeing it in such rough shape for so many years to see how beautiful it looks. It was the DP on this movie. His big credit is Young Frankenstein. So if you're watching this movie thinking of Mel Brooks, that's why. Maybe. All right. Anyone got a question? Wait, right in the back. Yes, right there.
For one of your first films, it seems like it was very complicated, the soundtrack-wise, requiring a lot of looping afterwards, and yet it fits so well. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that process.
You want to know about the complications in terms of like the dialogue and things? It does seem looped. I'm assuming you shot on the beach.
Yes, we shot on the beach, so we couldn't use any sound. The film is 75% looped.
Wow.
We looped all of that film. We spent an awful lot of time in Glen sound doing every line that wasn't shot on a soundstage.
It's amazing because it's still there's definitely an audio thing happening, but it definitely still feels naturalistic, which is rare for
and Kathy's monologue was sort of ruined too, because you could hear the camera cut through it, and they've really cleaned it up beautifully here, which is great. It really serves her.
It's such an amazing monologue. It's incredible. Yes, right there.
I just have a commentary. I thought you both were amazing, because I'm a huge fan of both of you, and I hated you in this movie. The characters were so not who I, grew up with and loved, so just thank you. I'm traumatized, but that's what a movie should do. And you feel all these, just emotion.
Years later, I worked with Burgess Meredith, and he said, "Son, if you're playing a villain, you must learn to enjoy your evil." That's the best lesson in being a villain.
Well, it's so interesting because, throughout the whole movie, you guys are balancing between being incredibly sympathetic. You guys are the leads of the film. The audience wants to be on your side. You guys are so, charming. I mean, that must be a very hard thing for an actor in terms of like knowing when to play that sympathy card, and also then turning into a mean person.
No, that's the script. They just
That's a script.
They
That's
just
right.
pull a dirty trick on the audience at the end.
And that's Frank again,
Yeah,
helping us.
and Eleanor, certainly Eleanor.
Yes, in the middle, you right there, sir.
For me, what makes the film so powerful is that it's about the cruelty of young adults that finally explodes at the end of the film. Do you think that is worse now?
Ooh, do you think that the cruelty of youth is worse now than it was back then?
I say it's more accepted now, certainly. Back then it was kind of shocking. Now it's,
Well, it's interesting that Frank Perry, expert, maybe you guys saw this, and maybe you saw these scripts. Apparently there's a draft of Eleanor's script that ends with a very 2025 kind of moment, where if you remember when Rhoda is introduced, she has a camera. She's taking pictures.
Yeah.
And in one of the drafts of the script, after the incident, after the rape in the movie, you guys grab her camera and you take a selfie.
Oh, that would be a bit rough.
Yeah, no, and apparently Frank, like right before, he was like, "No, this is terrible." But
So they divorced.
can you imagine them taking a selfie? I mean, we're talking about today. It's madness. That would be insane. You're in the middle again.
Yes, I was struck by this gorgeous cinematography, and was that last shot, was that from a helicopter or a crane?
helicopter.
It was a helicopter shot.
It's so amazing how we've grown up over the years and the developments of things that have come along, where you could create that in a room in Van Nuys now and make it look real, like it's on the beach, with all the drone shots and everything that seem
Now,
to be in it.
there are your parents are not in this film,
No.
but
There was-
you
there
guys
was-
did shoot some stuff with parents, correct?
There was a drunken father in it.
Yeah, there is I will say that on the upcoming Blu-ray, we found that scene.
Did you?
So one of the extras is Richard Thomas's father, is actually played by Ralph Waite.
Ralph Waite, who
his
went on to
father.
play his father in the Waltons.
Yeah, and so that is going to be an extra feature on the Blu-ray.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was actually added for some TV prints, like in the mid-'70s, because they had such success on television, and it was like, oh, they threw the two Walton people together in the movie. But it's he basically, Richard Thomas comes home and his dad is drunk, and Richard Thomas has to put him to bed. It's kind of wild. And the end there, sir.
What do you think their ages are?
What do you think their ages are in the movie?
About 17.
Yeah.
I was 19 when I made it, so.
And I was 20, I guess.
Yeah, I assume they're younger than that, so that's
Yeah.
why I
I
wondered.
mean, Kathy Burns makes a reference to being in high school still. So they're high school students. They're in college and come winter, so. I don't think they're anyone good. Yes, you.
Yeah. I was wondering, since you're both great actors and have had a great career, and this was the early start, did you feel, did you get a lot of offers, and did you feel right away that, hey, I want to be an actor and make movies in Hollywood, or was it a slow process or difficult?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be an actor since when I found out there was actually a profession called acting. That was when I wanted to become an actor. So that wasn't a revelation to me. The change for me was with this film was this first time I ever did anything that was attempting to be artistic. And first time I played someone so far away from myself. And it did awaken, like I said, it frightened me, but it also awakened in me a real desire to play a variety of human beings. To go on from there, yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of a double-edged sword for me because from this I went on to do the Strawberry Statement in Willard, and I had a lot of success as a young leading man before I knew what the hell I was doing or even who I was. And I was very lucky. I co-starred in a Western called Ozana's Raid with Burt Lancaster, directed by Robert Aldrich. Thank you. But I was hissy-fitting about something someday, thinking that, we get to write the script too, right? And Aldrich looked at me and he said, "Kid, come over here. I gotta talk to you. You don't want to be a leading man. If you become a leading man, you'll be 6 pictures in, you'll be washed up at 30. You're a good actor. You can play the supporting roles. You can be a character actor. You can play the doctors and the lawyers and the Indians and the villains and the victims, and you don't have to carry a film. And you will never be rich, but you can raise a family in this town." And I said, "Well, I don't know if I can do that." That's what happened to me, and that's how I've lucked into a career that I've been able to be a part of for so long. But that was the best advice that I ever got, because I could have broken my heart on a lot of shoals.
Barbara, by the way, is being honored this year at the TCM Festival. We have time for just a couple more, maybe way in the back row.
It was such a powerful and affecting film. I was just saying to my friend before, it's so rare that a movie delivers on the promise of those first frames where you sort of feel this youth and this sort of wide open thing, but also this terror and the courage and bravery of the screenwriting and the direction to really deliver on where you think it might go. And you were both so incredible in it. But I just wanted to ask, the composition of the shots and the cinematography is incredible, but the staging and the blocking is so gorgeous and so symmetrical and perfect. Was there a lot of blocking for this being like your first film like that? Was he very involved in where he positioned you? Because it's always perfect.
I don't think there was a lot of blocking more than any other film.
I
really.
think it was very organic. I think Frank let us rehearse. I mean, like I say, he put us all through the paces in auditioning to the point where, he said I was very lucky. I got the New York Film Critics Award one year, and I got Frank just before he died to come up and said it. And he said, "I put together a quartet, and you were my cello. But he really did. He paired us into the 4 people that he wanted, and we became the bouncing ball that you follow. And everything else was devoted to that. The camera shots and everything. And it wasn't we have to block our way into this or that. We were also young and didn't know what we were doing. And when you're standing in front of somebody else or anything, he adapted to us and kept that to himself and to his cameraman.
I mean, I will agree with you that sometimes because maybe it's because it's a threesome, so it's like sometimes you guys will lock, and it'll be you guys in the bird or you 2 together, and then someone comes in, and it's just you're kind of stunned by how gorgeous it looks or how incredible the dynamic is of the blocking of the movie.
Maybe it's because it's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Because it's 3 people.
Oh, because of the
Yeah. We'll do have time for one more. Yeah, right there.
Funny question for Bruce. One of your 2 front teeth is really chipped in this. And I'm curious if it was already chipped before your audition.
Yeah, no, I didn't break my tooth for the audition. No, actually, I explained it in the Strawberry Statement where Kim Darby says, "What happened to your tooth?" And I said, "A girl pushed me down a flight of steps in 3rd grade. And after that, I had it capped." So.
All right, just a brief announcement. There is a Blu-ray coming from Warner Brothers at the end of May. And if you have any friends in New York, I am going to be doing a Q&A with Richard Thomas at the Paris Theater on May 3rd. So if you tell me about it. And anyway, thank you guys very much.